Salutations, game enthusiasts! Welcome to another episode of Flatmates. We don't actually live together, there's a huge ocean separating us. The topic for today's conversation is the stories of the Mario and Luigi games. And I thought to get us started off, I'd talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the bean in the room, and mention Fawful because he is probably the most significant thing about the stories of the Mario and Luigi games. He is actually the only character in the Mario franchise to ever get like a multi-game arc of a story,
What
which
about
is
Mario
very,
and Luigi?
yeah, very interesting, if you ask me.
Yeah,
That's true.
that is. You dubbed it actually in your newest video, the Fawful trilogy.
Yeah,
you
I
called
mentioned
it, right?
that. Well, yeah, I called the first three games the Fawful Saga, I believe.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, they're not all about him, but like they all feature him and his rise to power over time, and that's really interesting, I thought. And I feel like if they ever do decide to raise the series from the grave, since Fawful has so many fans, they might just bring him back, but who knows?
It'd be interesting to see him come back. I'm not gonna lie, because like you put it best when you were talking about the Fawful Saga, as you dubbed it in your latest Dream Team video, because that ending was perfect, if you ask me. Like that was a really good ending to a saga with that. So I don't know how they bring it back with it being forced.
I kind of, you see, I have made my own little pixel art comic series called Evil Is Our Hobby, and it stars Fawful, Dementio, and Duplis. I've been doing this for quite a while. I've been doing it since my Miiverse days.
Wow.
And I haven't actually covered this headcanon in any of my comics before, but like my sort of headcanon for those comics, not that it's ever mattered to them, is that the Dark Star, which is what he was fused to at the time of his death, that he exploded with, represents the darkness in the world. And that's something that, well, hasn't gone away. So I feel like, what if like he tried to kill himself in a last-ditch effort to defeat Mario and Luigi, but still remained this sort of unkillable being and sort of reformed elsewhere?
That is interesting.
Now that's a bit of a wild theory that I got off there, but like they're probably not going to do that, but still.
I mean, it's fair. It's not bad.
Fun.
I wouldn't say it's a bad story thing to do.
It
That's
seems
a good thing, at least.
It seems fun and out of left field, which is like in line with the Mario and Luigi series. Very fun and out of left field stories.
Interesting way to continue the story, and like the Mario games have like never built off of each other's plots before Mario and Luigi did it. I don't think that they've ever done that except for here, which I find really, really interesting. Like, not even the other story-ish series of Mario games, Paper Mario, ever really did that. Like, they reference the previous ones, like, occasionally a couple of characters might appear as a little cameo, like, Bo from the first game appeared at the end of Thousand Year Door in Poshley Heights with Bootler. But there's very little in the way of that. But Mario and Luigi did a full-on story with Fawful. He got defeated in Superstar Saga, but he was already questioning his loyalty to Cackletta and is like, ooh, I'm actually the real brains behind this operation. Then Partners in Time is hiding out down in the sewer, no doubt planning his world domination plans. And then Bowser's Inside Story brings those things to fruition. And all the way through, he hates Mario and Luigi. So it's very satisfying plot that it would be interesting to see them take it a bit further.
Absolutely would be interesting. Go ahead, Troop.
And then Dream Team happened, and it just threw it out. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really mind that the continuity isn't really there, but maybe something.
And that's where I feel like my fear, if they do continue Fawful's story, is because they kind of in Dream Team they took the continuity, like you said, Shroob, and they chuck it out a window, like in that game alone. So to be honest, even though I feel like it isn't gonna happen, that game alone kind of proves that if somebody picks up the series, perhaps maybe there will be more to Fawful, which I'm a bit mixed on. But again, your story idea is definitely interesting,
That's
George.
true.
Like I'm very intrigued, and I'm not gonna lie, this is where like a whole bunch of series have gotten big story upgrades in regards to RPGs. Like, this is the console to do it if they decide to do it. I mean, look at Origami King, for example, to reference that. I got a big revival of the story, so I feel like if they do another Mario and Luigi game, the story might get some sort of revival, and Fawful will be a part of it. And it seems like if this trend of RPGs getting good story revivals in regards to, like, being known for phenomenal plots happens, it could be good. I feel like it could be good.
Well, I don't really hold not carrying on the Fawful story with Dream Team, because it did have a satisfying conclusion, like we mentioned earlier. But the one thing that does bother me a bit, like I said in my recent retrospective video for Dream Team that I just uploaded yesterday at the time of recording, but it'll be like a week ago by the time we upload this, is the selective amnesia that the characters tend to have in Dream Team, because like Fawful technically remembers Mario and Luigi. When we first meet Fawful in Dream Team, he's like, oh yeah, I remember those red and green guys, they just get on my nerves so much. When he's looking right at them, he doesn't remember them actually, and that just doesn't seem very believable at all.
I don't know. That's very unfawful-like, if you ask me.
Well, that's Popple.
But I don't know. It'd be interesting. And the trilogy, in all honesty, had its very... We talked earlier when this idea was brought up. I'd mentioned at some point that the stories to the series are like Paper Mario's combat. It's the most noticeable thing that you come back to. And while we've been talking about this fun, goofy style to the stories, there are some interesting dark elements to it that especially revolve around Fawful that can be played off really well as goofy.
Cough, the Shroobs, cough.
Oh my goodness, the Shroobs.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, the Shroobs, that's the darkest villains in the darkest game in the Mario franchise, really.
I was gonna say,
I made a video about that too.
You did,
Oh,
yes. Nice. And Shroob, that's your name. That's your name, Shroob. It's Shroob Invader.
Hi, I like the Shroobs. That, honestly, I don't really... Okay, to be fair, even though Shroob is in my name, my YouTube name, it's not in my actual name, that'd be a bit odd.
That's on your birth certificate.
No, that's
like,
for your
change
child.
that
Your
just to
name is
Shroob in
Child Shroob.
Oh my god. But no, like, the interesting thing, like, I was trying to bring up with Fawful too, and, like, unfawful, like, that's a thing that Fawful's kind of known for. Like, he's goofy, but he can be dark and serious when it comes to it. And even though he can try to be dark and serious, it sometimes is goofy. Like, how about having Cackleta's soul possess Bowser? You know, that's kind of disturbing but played off as goofy.
I definitely think it's more disturbing than goofy. I do think that Fawful looks weird, and that's the goofy part about it.
That is the goofy part. And even then, like, the Bow's Zeta design, it's kind of grown on me as goofy instead of, like, creepy. Like,
I will say that it looks really stupid and funny.
It really does.
You just stopped yourself from saying Bowsette, didn't you?
I almost did.
Remember, it's called Bowletta.
Bowletta,
It's called
I know.
Bowletta in this game, not Bowsette.
I had to stop myself. It's that curse is still engraved in my brain, and I hate it. But
they're probably the same people.
But
they're just the same people at this point.
Oh yeah, but I don't know. It's like whenever there are dark moments in the game, there's always a bit of a goofier side to them that's kind of like not makes it and throws it out the window like, oh, this person's getting possessed. Womp womp, cue the trombones. Like, not like that kind of goofy, but like it's just there's a touch of goofiness to keep it from being completely out of left field from Mario. It's just enough left field for that way you could be like, oh, this is a nice direction that feels pretty good for Mario and Luigi. I like it, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah. Fawful has goofiness. He's constantly making food metaphors about everything, and that's something that makes him very difficult to write for comics.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's Partners in Time with its dark story, so...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's that is
Partners
easily
in
my
Time,
favorite.
man. I feel like Partners in Time doesn't have that goofiness.
No.
But it makes it different, which is nice. I feel like it focuses on the atmosphere, and I wouldn't say scariness, because not anymore. It's not really that scary anymore, obviously. But stuff I know, like Toad Town.
Plenty of times.
It's
Come
more
on, George.
Come on. It's more creepy now than scary. Like, it's just enough to be like, oh, this is really bad. Like, this is kind of weird.
Unsettling.
Very unsettling, yes. It's not, like, scary where you, like, jump out of your seat or, like, look on horrified, like, dear God, get this away from me. It's just enough creepy to be like, yeah, that's not right.
These toads having their life force drained out of them.
The Yoshis, yep.
Oh,
These toads are having their life force drained out of them.
God.
Sorry, just keep on talking at the same time, sorry.
My bad, George. I'm sorry. But Yub is very special to me, okay?
Okay.
Yub is really special. Yub is really scary. Yub is the only scary part of Partners in Time to me. Obviously, I'm not going to be over jumping out of my seat when I see a big giant Yoshi, because that'd be weird still. But it's genuinely like, this is like messed up. Like,
yeah,
this is bad.
It makes you think, wow, these guys are actually kind of serious. Like,
yeah,
they aren't playing around. There's not going to be any you like chortles moments going on here. It's straight up, we are creating these beings. We are draining the life essence out of these toads. What are you going to do about it? And
yeah, I was a lot more freaked out by the toads in the Toadwood Forest than you, to be honest.
That is
fair. That definitely makes sense.
A lot of those toads were just turned into wood and are dead now. So that, yeah, it's actually got like a kill count for the good guys in this game.
It really does.
Jeez.
Like how many of the good guys did Cacletta and Forful and Antasma actually kill? None to my knowledge.
Antasma's weird because none of them really died.
None of them.
No, well, they got petrified, so they went into a big old sleep for a long time. But like, in the game, in Dream Team, you rescue like 50-something Pitillos across the island.
Yeah.
And for an entire race of people, I kind of feel like there should be more than that. So
right. And here's my thing with that too, about the petrification of like these guys and going and like being in this dream world once they're petrified and trying to save them. The thing with me, because this is around the time where both Mario RPG series, Paper Mario, Mario and Luigi, sort of lost a bit of stride and lost a bit of like a general fan base having interest in them. More so Paper Mario than Mario and Luigi, of course, but I have a feeling that Alpha, like this team, this development team right here, I have a feeling that they kind of had their hands tied in some ways, like the Paper Mario team had when it came to story. And it just isn't as open about it. Because, like, again, like, people literally died with these shrooms. This was a dark story. And Bowser's inside story as well, at least, had some interesting and, like, weird moments. Dream Team, in some ways, in regards to, like, having these petrifications, it feels like the development teams try to meet halfway with the story and get back to form. And try to kill off these characters without actually killing them off. And that's where I feel like the dreams come into play, because it's just like, yeah, they're in this dream world, there's still plenty of time to save them. We're not actually going to kill them because Nintendo has our hands tied again. Because this is around the time where Nintendo started to get a bit more strict with how their characters were being made, as we found out with the Paper Mario team, I feel like.
I disagree, to be honest. Before they were all petrified, the Pitillos were in a big old battle with Antasma, and if you read all the lore and stuff, they've been fighting against him for a while.
Yeah.
So I get the impression that in this battle, some of the Pitillos probably did die.
Probably.
And you could we don't actually really know what it was like for the Pitillos when they were petrified. They were trapped inside of nightmare chunks. So what if during the who knows how long, maybe centuries, they were trapped inside there? They were stuck inside of the world of their worst nightmares that entire time. Like that kind of sounds even worse than death if you start to think about it.
And that is very fair.
Gonna carry on with the point.
No, yeah, sorry.
Dream Team came out like a year later after Sticker Star, which leads me to believe they were developed at the same time-ish. So that kind of confuses me, because Dream Team, obviously, it's got an interesting story, an interesting setting. They do interesting things with the characters and all sorts. Things that seem to outright break all these rules that Sticker Star and Color Splash were forced to follow.
Yeah.
And then Paper Jam it seems like the rules are in full force.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like Paper Jam crossed over with them, and now it's got Sticker Star disease.
Right.
But
Sticker Star disease.
yeah, it's spreading. Watch out.
Oh no!
God, please no, not this again.
Not again.
Well, and then they came out with the remakes. Now, Nintendo, were they okay with them, making original games and stuff like that again because they're remakes that they technically already existed?
I feel
or were they being more lax? I don't know. Alpha Dream doesn't
know.
seem to have to play by as many rules as Paper Mario has.
Mm-hmm. And my thing is, like, you bring up some really good points about, like, where, like, all this war and, like, these indications and the lore and stuff, and the possibility that there definitely were some deaths. But that's why I feel that's where I feel like it comes, like, the Nintendo rules sort of start trickling in before Paper Jam. Not full force like Paper Mario, but sort of trickling in, and that's where my point kind of stands, is it's up to implications. Like, it's not directly implied or directly said. We're left to that imagination. You know what I mean?
I suppose. I mean, it is definitely less gruesome than Partners in Time gave you, where there were several toads that were fused to the wood that couldn't be talked to.
Exactly.
So that's like literal toad corpses. But yeah. I suppose it's less grim. But to me, I don't see that as reasoning for Nintendo starting to get their claws in, to be honest. But I suppose you can read it that way.
It absolutely, that's where I'm sort of reading it, because again, too, this is like, not just for Mario I found, but like, just in general, this is like the era where Nintendo started to get really, really into this idea of, hey, don't misrepresent our characters. And like, Alpha Dream, they, I agree, definitely had a bit more, like, of a lenient way than Paper Mario, because again, more people know Paper Mario, I'm sure, than Mario and Luigi. But I feel like they were like, all right, here's the story that you have. We're gonna let the team was just like, we're gonna let you guys interpret it however you will with the lore that we have, which is again just as disturbing to think about as having it directly said that, oh god, these guys are dead. But I don't know, I just feel like that something was off during the beginning of this era. Don't get me wrong, Dream Team's story is still fantastic, but I just feel like in regards to like this lore, like it's not as dark or like expansive as the lore of the older games, in my opinion, in some cases. That's just me, though. That's just me reading into it. This is just my knowledge of that Nintendo era as a whole, and growing up with it firsthand, just like you guys have. And the more I hear about these stories of how Nintendo sort of tied hands with a lot of companies, I don't know. It's something just seems fishy to me. Again, Dream Team's story is fantastic, but I feel like there was definitely, like, in regards to the lore and some of their events, a bit more of things being held back that they couldn't do, unfortunately.
Fair to think that. Anyway.
Okay, I wanna talk about one thing, because Dream Team, for me personally, well, the top two stories are Bowser's Inside Story and Partners in Time. There's definitely no bias there, definitely not. Superstar Saga was a good story. I do think that the atmosphere and like the darkness, it's kind of gone. It's not really there for me. I mean, Bowletta, I was about to say Bowsette. That's actually dark and scary.
Oh, that's scary.
I mean, it's somewhat creepy, but there's not really anything there for scary. So it's kind of like in my bottom three story-wise. I mean, Dream Team as well. It's not a bad story, but I think that story wasn't really great as a whole, but I do think it had good moments. My highlight for the story was actually the Dream Beats.
Yes.
That was...
Really? I don't like the Dream Beats. I thought that was dumb.
Wait, really?
Did you see me?
Yeah, I remember you watching I remember watching your retrospective. I think that what it leads to is dumb. I agree with that part.
That's fair.
What it leads to is like just you going in the dream world, and then after that part, that's kind of dumb. And then obviously the warp pipes, but that doesn't really matter. I think the Dream Beats itself, that cutscene, is scary. It's very threatening, because obviously not every single person, because when you just get out of Mount Pachamaja, they're just all awake again. I don't even know what happened there. But it's definitely threatening
it's not a permanent effect.
You go into the dream world, and then you just see what happens to every single person.
Well, they all fall asleep. I don't know. I don't suppose I really find that threatening. Like, if it was Mario and Luigi suddenly fell asleep right in front of Phantasma and Bowser, that'd be scary because there's nothing they could do about it. But, like, everybody else, they went for a nap for a little while, then woke up. I don't know.
They just conked out. I guess the other thing as well is that they don't really know what's going on. So they just fall asleep, and then... Yeah. I mean, the other thing is that, like, that's actually powering up the Dreamstone, the actual powerful thing, which is good. I mean, I also just might like the Dream Beats because I like the music of it. That might also be the reason as well.
It's a jam.
That's I can see you in your room just vibing to the Dream Beats.
Shroop, I heard that segue.
Oh, no, sorry, I didn't hear that.
Speaking of jams, though, Paper Jam exists, and that story sucks. I don't care about stories in video games too much. Like, I'm pretty sure I said this before. I don't really care about stories as much as, like, gameplay.
Yeah.
But, oh my god, it was just so bad.
That's what annoys me about this.
Remember me picture that I've used in my Paper Jam and Dream Team retrospectives. Mario and Luigi, Journey to Bowser's Castle featuring a million inconveniences, which is all the plot is.
That's basically it. And that's what annoys me about it, because I'm a big story person. As an RPG person, as a fantasy person, a D&D player, and a scriptwriter. Like, I love gameplay, don't get me wrong, but there's something about the story mixing with the gameplay that makes it better. And this story was horrible, and I despise it so much. Really, like, you summed up the best, George. It's literally just a million inconveniences, and they could have done so much better with the story. Like, you have such a great array of characters on both sides, and, like, you're putting it in, like, the front line of a Mario and Luigi game, which is, like, supposed to be out of left field goofiness. The paper characters in Paper Mario are the biggest example of that, and you do that? Like, I'm sorry, it's just easily the weakest story in the series for me, if I'm being honest.
It's just everybody is there, but they just all have their clones of each other, and it just doesn't lead to very much compelling storytelling.
The Bowser Juniors were good. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there was goofiness there somewhat. I wouldn't say there's a lot of it, but some of it's funny. I say, like, the dynamic with the Bowsers were somewhat funny.
Yeah.
The Bowser Juniors were probably my favorite part, because they were so, like, childish, and it was just really funny just to see, like, hey,
it was kind of cute seeing them make friends with each other, to be honest. But then after you defeat the Bowser Juniors in a fight, they just dip out of the story for the rest of the game, and that's a bit
gone.
I never understood that. It's literally just like, all right, you beat us, well, bye. And it's like, like, you could do so much more of that, especially towards the end with the final boss, and you do nothing with it. And this is what I mean with, like, story can play a big part with the gameplay if you do it right. Like, if they brought those guys back for, like, say, a part of the final boss or the final sequence, that could have been awesome. That could have been memorable. But, like, they don't, and I don't understand why. It just felt like there was no coordination about how to use these characters other than the basic trope of, wow, who are you? I'm you, but a parallel universe. And
like, they could have done, like, the Bowser Juniors were the ones with the book that leads to the paper universe, and they could have done something interesting like that. I think I said this in my retrospective, but you could have. I kind of was expecting this game to have us, like, switch between the paper world and the real world throughout different parts of the story, and that could have been really interesting if they could have done something like that. And, like, chase Bowser into the paper world, back and forth. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I could see it.
I could see it for sure.
But Bowser's Inside Story has Inside of Bowser and Outside of Bowser. Dream Team has the real world and the dream world. Kind of figured that would get paper world and flesh world.
Fair enough.
And that's the biggest thing, actually, because that was really clever from Bowser's Inside Story and Dream Team. The fact, like, they did these flipping between worlds, which, in my opinion, is literally just, like, flipping between screens on, like, the DS, which is very clever if you ask me, and why they did that flipping story a lot. But none of it was there, and I don't know. I'm so upset with Paper Jam, because I look at the story and I'm like, you literally could tell me that this was, like, a very poorly written fanfic of Mario and Luigi meets Paper Mario, and I would look and I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. And for me to say that about a series this quality writing when it comes to like capturing Mario and Luigi pure fun, it's kind of a bad look on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just not there. I mean, there's two routes. Like, I just want to mention the book again, the paper book. There's two routes that you want to, like, you can complain about. There's either what y'all are saying, like, oh, you can go into the paper world, or story-wise, probably the worst part about it is that they had the book for so long. Why haven't they destroyed it?
Yeah, actually, hold on. That's a good.
Why have they not destroyed it?
That's a good point, actually. Like, that's, like, I can let go some plot holes or, like, loopholes that they do in these games. I can't get past that. They had, like, why? Like, you have the power to do it, just game over. There you go.
I mean, it's made, because here's the other thing about it, is that I actually think Mario and Luigi and Paper Mario still could have won if they destroyed the book. That's the thing about it as well. I think that the story still could have been wrapped up.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't have been able to go back to the paper world. I guess all their homes are just destroyed, which I guess kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But it still could have worked.
Now, then Nintendo would really be killing the Paper Mario franchise.
They haven't been already. It's literally what they've been doing.
Yeah. It's Paper Mario. Not only did you have your own
Paper Mario.
You had your own
This is a
downfall.
Mario and Luigi video.
I know, right? Well, we knew it was gonna come up.
That'd be kind of funny. Like, everybody complains about a new direction of Paper Mario, and like, please Nintendo, bring it back to the way it was. And like, no, we're gonna create a game about how we're gonna destroy the Paper Mario universe. See how you like that? No Paper Mario for anyone. Anyway, we haven't really touched on Superstar Saga all that much, and I wanted to just say that Superstar Saga, I wasn't terribly keen on the game all too much myself, but that was mostly for the pacing and the gameplay. A lot of it was like wandering around all these big areas, trying to find where I'm supposed to go and not being able to do that.
Yeah.
But the story honestly took me on quite an interesting ride that I wasn't expecting, because like, it's not only the villains that have their plans that pull along the conflict, but the good guys actually think up ideas to thwart the villains that aren't actually explained to the player. And I thought that was really, really clever. Like, we think that she's captured Peach's voice, but it was actually all a decoy, and it didn't work out. And it just, I don't know, like, I kind of expect these games to have the villains be the driving force behind the story, and the ones who keep on escalating the situation until you eventually defeat them. But here, the good guys actually feel like real players in the plot, and that was just very refreshing for me.
Yeah, that's a really good example of like show rather than tell, if you ask me, and how a plot does it right. And that's the feeling that you get with like how like you were saying, the plot took you for a ride. Like it's basically like you're more than just like going through the motions of the script and like learning of the plan and then enacting it. It's really like you're some sort of otherworldly being just looking down on this world. And, like, they're talking about the plan, and you're like, I can't hear them. What are they talking about? And then you see the plan, and you go, well, that was kind of interesting. Like, it's a really good example of that. Like, just looking down and being like, oh, they're actually smart. They used a decoy. Wow. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
It's just...
I really like that.
It's really good. What about you, Shroob? What do you feel about that, honestly?
I've been silent through this because I actually disagree. I think that this game's funny. I think the cutscenes are actually pretty good. I think the fake Peach was actually probably my highlight story-wise. I mean, Bowletta is a good concept. But I'm not gonna lie, I think this is probably because it's the first Mario RPG, so I'll cut it some slack. I'm not gonna like compare it to like Paper Jam or Dream Team, but because I kind of mentioned this before, I think it is somewhat bland in a way. I think obviously Fawful's there.
Oh, really?
But... I don't know. George is like ranting in the background.
I was gonna say George is preparing the fire flower.
Oh, really?
I can hear like the snap of the fingers as they get the fire flower ready.
Oh no!
All right, but what were you saying though about the story?
It feels very bland, especially because, I mean, I think there's definitely some things off about it. Well, first off, I want to say that it's because of my first Mario RPGs. I played Super Paper Mario and Partners in Time before I played Super Paper Mario. And actually, especially, I want to point this out, I played Bowser Inside Story before Superstar Saga, which meant I didn't really enjoy Fawful as much as other people did.
Yeah.
Which is probably the main reason why. Like, it's just somewhat bland to me.
Yeah. I played Superstar Saga almost last as well. I bought Superstar Saga and played through that like shortly before Dream Team came out. So I played Partners in Time and Bowser's Inside Story first. Yeah, so I bought Superstar Saga after that.
Okay. Like I said, I think that the cutscenes are good, and I think that's definitely something that you're highlighting. So yes. I do agree with that part, but I think everything else, I kind of like Dream Team. I feel like there's highlights in the story, but the whole thing, I think it's average. I wouldn't say it's stellar. I wouldn't say it's bad. I would say it's decent. I don't think it really holds Superstar Saga though, like in high regard for me. That's the main thing about it. I think it's decent. I don't think it's great compared to like Partners in Time and Bowser's Inside Story. That's the main thing about it.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, you see, I'm admiring Superstar Saga for the interesting twists that it pulled on me that I wasn't really expecting. And when we think about the twists of the other games, like, besides from the Cobalt Star being secretly evil, which was hinted at quite a bit, the other games don't really do twists very much, do they?
Not off the top of my head.
I think so.
Not at all, really. Like, I think I don't know. I
suppose Bowser betrays Antasma.
Yeah, Bowser's about to mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about...
dumb. I don't know why I did that.
Well, Bowser's a dumb dude sometimes. It's just how he is.
I guess Bowser's Inside Story kind of proves that part.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, actually, speaking of Bowser's Inside Story, I just realized the Elite Trio pushing Bowser into the safe. That's a twist right there.
Oh, yeah. That's a good twist. Good point.
Which honestly kind of makes the game worse for a bit because I actually like playing as Bowser instead of Mario and Luigi.
Well, they wanted to get Mario and Luigi out of there and have them have their own bit of plot to themselves.
Yeah.
They do
that's
that
fair.
It's interesting, and I do agree. I can't list many plot twists in the series off the top of my head after Superstar Saga, and I absolutely see where George is coming from with this. In my honest opinion with the story, I think it's pretty good. It was one of the, again, I think I mentioned this before with you guys, but I played Partners in Time and Bowser's Inside Story before I got around to Superstar Saga and Super Paper Mario as well.
So all three of us then.
Yeah, exactly.
All three of us did that.
That is literally all three of us, yeah. But I still think it's good, and it's definitely, I see where you're coming from with the highlight part, Shroob. I mean, if a story has highlights, it's at least average. If it's forgettable, then obviously it's bad. So I see where you're coming from with average at least. But I don't know. It's tough to pinpoint it. There's just the right amount of plot twists and, the ins and outs of, not knowing the character's plans until they actually do it. And it makes it seem like a goofy 80s video game movie to me. And that's what I enjoy about it so much.
Okay.
I guess that also makes sense because I do want to point out, obviously I already pointed this out, I'm a gameplay person, so you need to do a lot to get me invested in the story. So, if a story's good and only good, I'm only gonna think it's average because I'm not really gonna get invested in it. And if a story like Super Paper Mario genuinely gets me invested, then there's it's actually gonna be a pretty good story. It's just between average and then just jumps to pretty good. I don't know why. This is what happens when you're not a story person, but
which is fair. It's absolutely fair.
I am a story person, and when I played Paper Jam, I mean, obviously the story is very, very bland, and I felt very uncompelled to play the game at all. Although I find the battle system in Paper Jam, to be honest, it's kind of hard to top how satisfying it is to play as Bowser, but I think that Paper Jam really nailed the battles. but like I still didn't feel compelled to pick up the game at all.
Yeah.
This is the thing about it. I mean, I'm not gonna get into like my ranking here because this is like getting really off topic. But I don't know. I really like the Bros attacks. They're in my, I think like Dream Team and Paper Jam are my favorite Bros attacks of all time.
Really?
I really like the bosses. I mean, there's only one that I quote unquote dislike, and that's Petey Piranha. But even then, he's my second favorite first boss in the Mario and Luigi game.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, especially the final boss, Shiny Robo Bowser. That's like that. I'm pretty sure it's in my top 3 favorite. Actually, I think it might be my second favorite Mario and Luigi favorite boss.
Mm-hmm.
Now I really think about it.
It's
really good.
It is really good, and that's the thing with the story too, like, and how you were saying you're not compelled to it. At least with the other games, there was like something to keep you driven to do the story, whether it was the gameplay being fun for you, Shroob, or like the story in general for me and George. Like, at least there was something to compel you. With Paper Jam, like, half of what compels a gamer to play through a game is just not there. And that's what you spend a lot of the time doing when you're not in battles, is exploring the world and dealing with the story. And the fact that I say dealing just, again, makes it sound like a chore to play through Paper Jam, which it very much is, because if I can get gameplay from any other game. I can get good gameplay from anywhere else in the Mario and Luigi series. But I want to keep playing it for the story as well. And that's just me as a story person, honestly.
Makes sense.
You know, the more I think about it, the more I think that there are twists in the other games. Like, there's always, we think that we get Peach back in Partners in Time, and it's actually Princess Shroob with a mushroom over her face, and
that was funny
and stuff like. Yeah, that was interesting. But but the point that I was making before was, I suppose it's not that Superstar Saga is the only one with twists. It's that the twists sometimes involve what the good guys are planning, and you don't really expect. Like, since they're your team, you expect to know what all the cards in your hand are.
Yeah.
You don't expect to go into a situation and then be surprised that the good guys have actually outsmarted both the villains and you. You don't expect that to happen, and that I found very interesting.
I think Superstar Saga is the one with the most twists. I think that's what you're also trying to get around.
I agree. And the most memorable, I should say, if I may add to that as well, like the most memorable twists. Because the more we're talking about these games, the more we're like, oh, that's a good twist, or oh, that's a twist that was interesting, but also was kind of dumb. Like, we're talking about these twists the more we're thinking about it, but when it comes to Superstar Saga, we can name like 2 or 3 of them off the top of our heads. They're more memorable because it, like George said, it's with the heroes. That's what makes them memorable. Like, you think you know everything in your hand, but all of a sudden somebody pulls out an ace and it's just like, whoa, that's amazing. So, I don't know, that's just an interesting part.
Now that's interesting. Like, what is it about the stories that we appreciate the most? We're talking about the twists as an aspect of the stories that we really like, but what else is there that we really enjoy about them? And I'm kind of starting a whole new conversation when we're already 36 minutes into this one, so
nice.
We shouldn't really be going on for much longer, because
that would be a fun conversation for another time, honestly.
True.
That'd be like, that's a whole episode on its own. What's so memorable about these? But to like put it like a blurb, honestly, it's not just the plot twists, it's the personality of the game. And it's a weird, it's absolute, and like the personality, like Paper Jam, obviously there's personality with Luigi and Bowser and all these other side characters that we meet. Yeah. But it also takes its story a bit more seriously at times. When it comes to Mario and Luigi, it's literally just putting the bros and their goofy nature and throwing them into a RPG game where they're just allowed to go nuts with each other. Like, look at the bros attack, for example. It's literally just their personalities mixed into the gameplay. And I know that's not, like, the topic right now, but the stories just allow everyone to show all of their personalities at full. Like, Bowser is a total dork most of the time and is an idiot a bunch of the times. The villains are superb. Like, sometimes, like, in the case of Fawful especially, they can be goofy, but they can be as serious, if not more of a threat than Bowser. Like, the Shroobs, for example. Like, everyone's iconic because they go beyond just, like, standard RPG tropes or standard Mario tropes that we see in other games. They're allowed to shine in these goofy scenarios. that's just what makes it special to me. Like, if you put this in, like, any other Mario game, it would make it 10 times better, I feel like. Because instead of just being like, wow, you saved the princess, or Luigi in Mario Galaxy being like, hey, bro, I'm here to be another side character. Like, they all get their shine in some way that we never see anywhere else, which is phenomenal, if you ask me.
I don't really think that... I just wanted to mention that Bowser betraying Antasma towards the end. When Bowser first asks Antasma what he's going to wish for from the Dreamstone, he says that he wants to rule the world. And Bowser's like, whoa, watch it, that's for me, I'm going to rule the world. And Antasma knows that he needs Bowser in order to succeed. So I kind of feel like the whole time Antasma was playing Bowser until the point that Bowser and Antasma would manage to defeat Dreambert, Mario, and Luigi, the problems that they have. Then I believe Antasma would have used the Dreamstone to turn on Bowser. So honestly, I kind of see Bowser betraying Antasma as a really smart move. Like, Bowser's actually playing a bit of fourth dimensional chess there, to be honest. And actually seeing through Antasma's manipulation.
And it's interesting because, again, like I mentioned, most of the time he can be dumb or, like, just very egotistical and, like, a goofy guy. But that's the key word, is most. Dream Team really showcases that. And even in Paper Jam, where he's with his paper version of himself, there's a bit of a more serious side to Bowser when they're teaming up and become... Yeah, it's just, like, I feel like especially later, they give Bowser a bit more depth to him, which is really impressive.
Like, in the Mario and Luigi, the Mario RPGs, they kind of tend to make you not take Bowser terribly seriously. Most of the time, he's not the main villain, he's just some side villain.
Especially Thousand Year Door.
He's kind of goofy and played for lots of laughs. So then, yeah, Dream Team makes you respect him some more. And, like, one of the good things that Paper Jam did well, like you said, Benson, that towards the end, it is when you beat the two Bowser Juniors, the two Bowsers cradle their sons in their arms, and then they take off with the ship. And we've got Peach with us, we escape back to the castle. Bowser knows this, but we just beat up his son. And he knows that Peach, supposedly the love of his life, both of the Peaches, the love of their lives, are in the castle. Like, even though it's not a very good relationship Bowser has with Peach, obviously. It's never going to work out, but he is in love with her. He fires at that castle and wrecks it while Peach is in there. It says to me that you shouldn't mess with Bowser or his kids. Like, he can get serious, and you shouldn't count him out or see him as just a joke, really, because he can get serious.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And I wish they continue the Mario and Luigi series more, because especially starting from, like, Bowser's Inside Story specifically, which surprisingly we haven't talked about as much as the other ones, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Like, starting
this 40 minutes has really flown by, hasn't it?
It really has. But, like, starting from Bowser's Inside Story, you still get that goofy dragon guy, like Turtle Man, that wants to, like, get this princess and rule the world, sure. But you hit a really good chord there, George. That, again, starting from Bowser's Inside Story, I feel like the games start to give him a bit more depth. And this is where I wish that they would continue the Mario and Luigi series, because we just beat up their son. And now, and it's different from, like, betraying their co-villain, you know? It's just like, cool, I want to be top villain, so I'll betray them. You see that a lot. You don't see villains getting mad all that much, honestly, about their family, who they see as henchmen sometimes, or a pain sometimes, getting beat up. That's like a bit...
He's not the most successful villain, but I think that the games are always trying to hammer home that he's a good dad.
Yeah, he's got a bit of humanity to him, honestly, which you don't see much.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really sweet in Origami King, but we're not talking about Paper Mario right now. Our cats just entered the room.
Oh, hello, cats.
No, well, cat has. That was a contraction of cat has.
I heard cat. I heard cats for a second. I think mine cut out.
It was cat, but it was a contraction of cat has.
I got you. Hey, good sir, would you care to give us your information on the Mario and Luigi stories? I'm gonna take that as a... Oh, he's purring?
So then,
Is that
unless
it,
we've got any last little comments you might want to say. Anyone?
Shroob, go ahead. You first, buddy.
I like the shrooms.
Good point. Good point. Well done. Congratulations. You've won the conversation. Yes. Shroobs. Woo!
No bias.
Okay.
No bias.
No, of course not.
George, you're the main host. Do you have anything to say?
No, I've kind of covered all the points that I can think of. I kind of don't want to think of any more points because it's 43 minutes.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
spend the entire year editing.
Of course.
So,
Bowser's Inside Story is good.
yes, agreed. All right then. Thank you very much for watching, dear viewers. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe for future episodes of Flatmates, as well as a continuation of my Mario and Luigi retrospective series, which you should also go and watch. I've got lots of nice content on my channel and lots of nice content coming. So, thank you ever so much for watching. Please subscribe for more. And until next time, farewell, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, we said it on time.
Yay!
We didn't forget this time.
Woo, we didn't forget.
Yay!
Woo!
Let's go.
Yay.